I guarantee that if somebody were to ask you what your favorite anime episode is, it'd be hard to give a singular answer. What naturally aligns with our top series is the fact that there's at least one favorite episode from each, and weighing them against each other isn't easy. Despite billions of people having different tastes, there is plenty of room for common ground. For a lot of people, they absolutely love MHA Season 2 Episode 10, or maybe it's the Attack on Titan Betrayal episode, or even One Piece's 1015. Quite frankly, all three of these are some of my favorites, and I don't think I need to spin the narrative wheel around again as to why. Instead, I want to take today to talk about an episode that has really been on my mind again lately within ReZero. Before Season 3 began, I felt it was necessary to go back and refresh myself on the events regarding the Witch of Greed and the Sanctuary. Paying more attention this time around contributed significantly to my understanding of the story, which also led to a lot more enjoyment this go around regarding some of the peaks of the season. Among the variety to choose from, my favorite episode from this season is undoubtedly the penultimate titled Choose Me. Personally, I am a big fan of emotional and desperate situations. Whether it's in the midst of change, the face of impossible odds, or witnessing inconceivable levels of conviction in the face of fate itself, there is something so damn captivating about these type of storylines. Time and time you ask yourself, just how is a character able to push on with such a light in their eye, knowing the burdens they carry are so heavy? These types of stories allow all sorts of characters to be intertwined with such beautifully crafted writing, and in the case of those who are not human, a chance to be humanized. For somebody like Beatrice, who has been alive longer than my whole bloodline and is a powerful spirit, the story rendered her the equivalent of a little girl desperate to be reached out to. She's one of my favorite characters, and is also why I'm such a fan of Futaba Yozakura's design. But before I get ahead of myself, I think it's important to go back and discuss the events that set this in motion in a time way before now. As we know, the Witch of Greed is the creator of Beatrice, establishing a motherly bond in that regard. Together, alongside Roswaal and Ryuzu Mayor, their daily lives were intertwined with one another. Until, you know, that Hector guy kinda just showed up and ruined everything. In the face of imminent defeat, the witch gave Beatrice one task, and that's to protect her knowledge within the Forbidden Library and await the day for that person to arrive and inherit the knowledge. A vague criteria that, as confirmed within Core 1, was also an experiment began by Echidna to see who exactly would be that person. It's a mission that only she could take up given her immense lifespan, and one she chose to not deny, for her admiration towards her mother was ever stronger. I actually recently ended up reading the ReZero side story known as Loving the Days Gone, and I cannot express enough just how much of a boost it gave to this plotline. Within it, you're constantly shown how Beatrice holds her mother in the highest regard, and only cements why she took up the task even if it would trap her within a personal hell that she was not aware to come. It also adds a lot of great talk about Subaru regarding the end of the episode, but more on that in a little bit. Days turned to months, months to years, and soon the mere continuation of life itself felt like a personal hell. Not even a gospel could establish any hope, but that in itself only makes the importance of choosing a path for yourself crucial. If there is no clear choice in sight, if there isn't a criteria to follow to get an exact result, then the only thing you can do is determine the result that only you could deem satisfactory. A realization that I'm sure Echidna knew before she even finished uttering the task long ago, but her desire to know what path her daughter would take the priority. With so much time gone by, one could easily lose sight of conviction and fall into a spiral. Does that person even exist? How will I know when they are here? For what reason should I uphold this contract even now? Such detrimental questions that despite her wisdom cannot be so easily answered, as it would require a level of introspection far out of the margin of what Betty was used to. In a way, this contract froze her life the same way Emilia did her own for some time, unable to move forward, waiting aimlessly, and the culmination of all these negative emotions became so complex that empathizing with them would take someone of the extraordinary. One of the reasons why I love the final main conflicts of MHA reside in the fact that you cannot so easily solve somebody's rage rage and cries with logic. Emotions will not always adhere to reason, as if it were truly that simple, then maybe peace would be a lot more attainable. The reason why human nature is so conflicting is because we lack the ability to truly understand one another. The lack of empathy, the willingness to hear one another out and understand our differences has led to countless conflicts and monstrosities within our own history, and all of it can start with one person. This little girl is somebody who was alone, isolated, begging for help silently, yet disappointed time and time again. In Beatrice's case, her inability to decide on a person played a part in her turning hollow, alongside being unable to realize that her freedom was a matter of the choice she had to make. So when confronted with such enormous circumstances weighed on the soul, how do you go about solving such a matter? The answer being one of Natsuki Subaru's best qualities, and that's his unorthodox nature. Pulling into season 3 for a moment, Baal described it best regarding the mentality Subaru would bear as a knight of no sacrifice, and that's his heroic delusions. Though all is done in good nature, what he has to do in order for the best ending possible from now and into the future would typically be looked at as delusional and maybe even insane to an extent. Again, I am a fan of characters who can look at impossible odds in the eye and still have the will to overcome them. The White Rabbit and Roswaal combined would steal away any hope, but this is why we watch to see how things come to pass. The key to victory residing in Beatrice's fate, and it's something only Subaru can help determine. His persistence to keep coming back wasn't guided by Return by Death in this episode, but rather his inability to leave a crying girl by herself any longer. He knew that he wasn't this special person for her, because at the end of the day, he is only himself, and only oneself could fulfill the criteria of being that person. It simply came down to a matter of choice. If Beatrice didn't know who or what she needed to choose, then right here, right now, the most important decision she could make is choosing the person standing in front of her. Taking that leap of faith is scary. You don't know when the good times may end or what bad times may be on the horizon, but that alone isn't worth letting your life be still any longer. Despite the difference in lifespan, despite knowing that someday they will be separated again, all Subaru was asking for is a chance to set her free. To not allow herself to be alone anymore, break the contract upheld by her own admiration, and engrave an impression of a lifetime into her very soul. For no matter what result may come, the right answer is whatever she chose for herself. In the midst of so much conflict and at the heels of the sanctuary finally being liberated within the burning fortress of solitude, a choice was finally made. Beatrice dropping the gospel has the equivalent weight of Thorfinn dropping his knives in Vinland Saga. Letting go is not an easy thing to do, and it's so easy to get stuck in a cycle with no clear exits. Yet when that leap of faith is finally in motion, you realize just how incredible the story you are witnessing is. It's not like anybody else didn't come close to being that person for Beatrice as well, as the main character within the side story did comfort her at some point, but the difference is that he is not Natsuki Subaru. Only somebody with unfathomable conviction could break the chains imposed by a witch, and unlike those who desired her help, Subaru rejected it and reached out elsewhere. Words alone cannot express how deeply moved I was watching this episode. There is a magnificent warm feeling you get watching a character who extends their hand out to help being held by another in a moment that would change their lives forever. It's okay to be stuck, but staying that way is not, and sometimes you just need that person to guide you into the light. I know I've been mentioning quite a bit of ReZero lately, but Tappei truly wrote something special here that I will always remember. For all the memories I'll make in this medium, this is one I'll choose to never forget. With that, ladies and gentlemen, will bring me to the end of this video. As always, thank you all for watching, and make sure to leave all your comments about Choose Me and ReZero down below. Stay warm out there until we meet again in the next video.